All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Zach Rodriguez Art Channel. Appreciate you stopping by. Today we're going to be painting just a pretty little mountain scene. I was going to do some sunset colors like purple and blue and stuff like that, but I'm kind of short on time, and I've just been wanting to paint. I haven't really painted painted on a larger canvas in a while. But anyway, this is a tutorial video. I'm going to show you how to paint a basic sky with some clouds, and so you can get away with doing a lot with just adding some blue, like some Prussian blue. That's what I'm going to be using, is Prussian blue, and this is oil painting, just to let you know. You could use phthalo blue as well and get some nice colors. And even if you didn't want to, like, say if you're barely starting out with the painting and you're not really comfortable maybe with painting clouds, you can get away with just using the blue color because you already have a liquid white. So I've already primed my canvas. This has been primed like a couple of weeks ago. I primed it 3 times with the gesso, white gesso, making sure that each coat was dry before I applied the next coat, and then let it dry overnight. And then before I started this video, I applied the liquid white, magic white, to the canvas. Very, very thin coat. And so I'm just using some paper towels. I applied it, made sure that it was all evenly distributed on the canvas, and then I dried my brush off here on some paper towels. You can use a towel, whatever. And then I went over the canvas again like this, just to make sure that the layer of magic white was very thin, because you want to make sure it's very thin. All right, so I'm going to go into some Prussian blue here on my brush, making sure that I get it applied on both edges, turning the brush around, putting the brush on the palette, getting it like this, turning the brush around, and then getting some more paint on the other side, making sure that it's evenly distributed. And you don't want a lot of paint on the brush unless you're wanting to paint a really dark sky, but you can get a lot done with just a little bit of paint. So you just fire it into the canvas. Don't be afraid. I personally like to get the edges a little bit darker, and like the top here in the middle a little bit darker. But if you don't, it's okay. But usually if you start darker on the top and go lighter towards the middle, towards your skyline, it just kind of gives it a better effect. It makes it look more realistic, I guess. So I'm going to start on the top here, on this top layer, and work my way down to the skyline, making sure that that it gets lighter as I go down. So just fire it in. Just fire in that color here and there. You don't have to make it even. I'm going to try to make this a quick video because I got some school shopping to do with the kids here in a couple of hours, so I want to make sure I'm done. This actually might be a little bit too much paint. I'm going to wipe my brush off here on a paper towel, and I'm just going to, as I'm going down, I'm just going to make sure that it's getting lighter. I'm going to try to anyway. And then if it gets dark, and if you don't like, if it's too dark in certain areas that you think it's, if you think it's too dark, just work it in, because you already have that magic white on the canvas, so it's going to blend with that magic white and it's going to get lighter. And if you still feel like you have too much paint, like I feel right now I have too much paint, I'm just wiping it off here on some paper towels, wiping it off really good. And then got a little hair there from the brush. Just use the tip of the brush there, the edge of the brush, to get those hairs off. Okay. And just leaving some open spots here and there. That's fine. That's gonna make it look like there's some cloud action in there. So again, this is just some Prussian blue, and I already applied some magic white onto the canvas. And yeah, I'm just outside right now, my backyard, and listening to some music. Hopefully it's not too loud, but I gotta hear it. It just helps me relax when I'm painting. So just listening to a little Sandy Alex G radio. Big fan of Sandy Alex G. I guess you could label it into the indie music scene. Indie music. All right, anyway, going back to the painting. So, as I'm getting down again to this skyline here, the middle is kind of where I want my skyline. So, as you go down, just make sure that it's getting lighter as you go down. Try to anyway. And again, if you think that you still have too much paint on the brush, just wipe it off, no problem. Again, I'm just using some paper towels here. Wiping off the paint, going back to the canvas, and I'm just gently wiping it. Gently wiping it. Or gently brushing it onto the canvas here. And that's about where I want my skyline, so I'm just going to make sure that I'm brushing very lightly to make it. If you brush really hard, once you get close down here, if you're brushing really hard, there's still some paint in that brush and it's going to come off onto the canvas. So just brush lightly once you get closer to the skyline, like so, and go over it lightly, over everything lightly. I'm going to clean off my brush again, just as much as I can, get off as much paint as I can, making sure it's nice and somewhat clean. And then I'm going to go over the whole thing very gently and just kind of bring everything together. I personally don't paint on the sides of the canvas because I handle it from the sides, so I just don't like getting paint all over my fingers. All right, just making sure that the paint is on there really well, and just bringing it all together, kind of gently, just getting all the brush strokes out. And as you can see here, just by using the Prussian blue, mixing with the liquid white that's already on the canvas, you're already getting some effects. Sorry, I got paper towels flying. It's a little windy. It's been rather windy in these parts lately. Summertime here. Summertime here in the Central Valley, California. Okay, going back, as you can see, just by using the Prussian blue, mixing with the liquid white, you got yourself a basic sky. You can move on to, you know, if you want to add water, which I'm going to add water to this one, and I'll show you how I do that. Also, which I probably should have done, instead of wiping off all that paint, I should have applied the water that I'm going to be doing. But just to kind of give you an idea, focusing on the sky right now, I'll probably save the video, save the next step for the next video. So that's pretty much it. This is a basic sky. Actually, I'm going to leave it without doing the clouds. I'll probably save that. I'll save that for maybe the next video. Actually, you know what? No, I'll go ahead and show you how to add some clouds. And you could even take what's already on the canvas, the color. Like, see, you have some dark spots. I have some darker spots here and there. I'll probably use those for my clouds. So, like for the base of my clouds, what I'll do is I'll add some white just to the top layer of it, kind of work it in there, and yeah, just make some clouds out of those dark spots. And I'll show you how I do that right now. So again, you already have the liquid white on there, and then when you add the Prussian blue, it blends with that liquid white. And so if you leave some open spots and then clean your brush off a little bit, go back over it, you got yourself a basic sky. You can move on from there. You could say if you're not going to add anything, if you're not going to add water or anything to the bottom. You can move on to creating your clouds, or yeah. So, but usually if you're going to add water, you know, before you clean it off, before you clean your brush off, while you're doing this, you could add that water here on the bottom, and so you don't have to waste any paint. So I should have done that, but I'm focusing on, well, I usually do that, but I'm focusing on just the sky for this video. So there you go. There's a basic sky. You don't even have to add anything, any other clouds in there. It looks like you already have some cloud action in there. So let me show you though. Let me show you how to add some clouds. Say if you do want a little bit more definition in your sky, in your clouds. You want some fluffy white clouds in there. I'm taking a fan brush and I'm just going into some white. I have a kind of a makeshift palette going on here, and make sure you get your white on there. I should have showed you. I'll show you still. When I applied the Prussian blue, I just pulled some of that Prussian blue out and then I tapped it in there, turned the brush around and then tapped it again, and that's how I got the paint onto the brush. Now I'm going to the fan brush. I'm just making sure that fan brush has a lot of paint on there, so it's nice and fully loaded with white paint. You could add like a touch of crimson if you wanted to make like some have some like pinkish color into the clouds, but you got to use very, very little of the alizarin crimson. So I'm just going to use white, and I'll show you what I was talking about with using these darker spots for the base of some clouds. And then usually after each cloud, you're going to want to clean your brush off, and then just not necessarily wash it off, but just wipe it off really well, and then go into some more white paint and go on to the next cloud, because it'll get dirty once you apply this white paint to the canvas, mixing it in. It's going to mix in with that blue that's in there, and it's going to dirty up your brush. So there's different ways to apply the white. I recently watched some videos with Bill Alexander, and I like how he fires it in there, so I'm just going to try that a little bit. So I'm just going to try to focus on adding this white paint to the top of these dark spots here, making these the base of the cloud. I'm going to add it to the tops of these dark spots. So just going to work it in there a little bit and keep the brush moving. I'm going to wipe my brush off because I got some of that blue on there mixed in with the white paint. So I have this baby blue color going on. I'm going to go back in to my white paint, get some more paint on there. And if you get like a touch of blue in there, that's fine. Just make sure that it's somewhat clean from that blue color. All right, I'm just wiping that off again, going back into the white. It's a little tedious, but if you're able to take your time on it. I'm actually trying to get this done as soon as possible, because like I said, I got some shopping to do here in a couple of hours. So I'm trying to get this done quick, and I don't usually do paintings really quick. These paintings take anywhere from like 4 to 6 hours. They even take me about 7 hours to finish, but God willing, I'm able to get something done here within a couple of hours. So there you go. There's a little bit of cloud action in there. Wipe it off again, going back into the white. And I'm gonna just taking these dark spots again and adding white to these darker spots in the sky, and I'm turning these into my clouds, and you'll see how we make it work. We blend in that white into the dark on the bottom, and it makes it work. Maybe add a little bit of color here and there. This brush is a little dirty. Wiping it off again. Just to the best that you can. Wipe off that paint, that dirty paint, that dirty blue with the white. Going back into the white, getting some more white paint on there, loading it up. And let's go a little one right there, or a bigger one. And I think that's going to be good. I think we're going to leave it at that. And so now, what I'm going to do is you could use the fan brush, and I think I might use a fan brush actually. I do have a lot of blue paint on that 1-inch brush. Usually I have two 1-inch brushes going, just to kind of make things work faster, and I use one for the darks and one for the lights. I try to anyway. Sometimes the brush that I use for the lighter colors gets a little dirty, and but it's a little bit easier to clean. All right, I just cleaned off my fan brush, wiped off all the paint as much as I could, leaving it somewhat dry and clean. I don't have any paint on here, and I'm gonna go in and barely just kind of disturb the bottoms of the white paint I just applied. I'm just gonna go in and disturb it a little bit, kind of blend it in a little bit. Just using the corner, I'm not using the whole thing, just the corner, and blending it in just a little bit. Try not to apply too much pressure when blending these. Just try to disrupt the white paint on the very bottom. Don't touch the top layer. And then after you blend, each individual cloud, clean off your brush. Wipe off, not clean, but just wipe it off. So just blending that a little bit. I'm going to wipe it off on a paper towel, and then going back up here, blending the bottom here. I'm not a certified instructor or anything. I've just been an admirer of this technique. I've been an admirer of Bob Ross since I was a child. I'd say maybe 10 years old, 9 years old, somewhere around there. I'm 43 now, and I've been painting for a little over a year in this style. I did some acrylic painting, not very much at all in high school, and a little bit in my adult life, but very, very little. I could probably count on my fingers how many times I've done acrylic paintings. Mainly just drawing and using pen and stuff. But yeah, it's been great. Just ever since I started back last year in June of 2020, I've just been painting as much as I can, trying to do it every day. It doesn't work out to do it every day, just because I'm busy with the kids and family stuff. So, okay, going back to this, I'm still just blending the bottoms of these out. Blending the bottom very gently, just, okay. Now, oops, a little dirty. What you don't want to do is, if the brush gets dirty, don't go back into those light areas, because you'll just dirty up those light areas. You'll have to go back and clean it up again. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean off this brush that I was using that has the blue on it. Just wiping off as much paint as I can, getting it as clean and dry as possible without having to actually wash it. So I'm just wiping off all that blue on some paper towels, getting a workout for sure. It's arm day. It's always arm day when we're painting. So, all right, let's see. Looks like this is kind of a lengthy video, but again, I'm not a professional. If you want to, you could actually use this 1-inch brush and do a little bit more blending. It actually might be. This is what I usually use, is a 1-inch brush to blend my clouds and to bring it all together. And I think it works actually better. I was just using the fan brush just to show you that you can use the fan brush, but I actually use the 1-inch brush, and you can even do it with a 2-inch brush. You'd be surprised. I get a little intimidated sometimes with the 2-inch brush, and it's just a bigger brush to clean too. So, all right. So now, once you have a a dry brush to use, and it's free of paint. Again, you can use a different brush. You got 2 brushes handy. Just go over very gently and just disturb these a little bit. Just kind of fluff them up. You know, this gives it the effect that the clouds are moving, and it actually there's some spots here where the paint's really kind of thick, and you can see the brush strokes pretty good. And so we're just kind of eliminating the brush strokes, and to me it actually gives it a once you do this, it gives it more of a realistic effect, I think. So numerous things happening here when you're doing this. So again, I'm outside, I'm in the backyard. You might hear some dogs barking. You might hear some sirens. All right. Yeah, so again, this is just very gently, like letting the tip, the ends of the brush here, like the end of the brush, barely letting it touch, and just kind of in a repetitive motion, just kind of going like in little circles, barely letting it touch, fluffing it up. I don't want to totally ruin and take off all that paint and smudge that paint all over the place. I just kind of want to disturb it a little bit. So that's why we're going over it very gently. Some areas it might take a few more times to go over it, and that's fine. Just do it very, very lightly. And this wind is not my friend today. Okay. All right. You don't want to go straight up or straight down when you're doing this. So that's why we're doing these like in circle motions. So, sorry if the shirt's too bright. This is one of my painting shirts. I have several painting shirts where I don't mind getting paint on it. And so, sorry if it's too bright for you. I actually used this shirt for some 80s attire. We were attending a throwback movie, and I had like a little blazer on over this. I didn't have any white pants, but all right. Disturb this over here a little bit more. Okay, and then once you feel good about it, you got everything blended in, and you fluff those clouds a little bit, clean off your brush again, wipe it off. You can clean it if you want. I don't use harsh chemicals when painting, so I just try to avoid that. I just use a lot of paper towels, so that's just me, that's just my preference. But the cleaner the brush, the better when doing this in between the steps. So, all right, so now I have another dry, wiped off brush, clean brush. And what I'm going to do is go over this whole thing very, very gently again, and it's just going to bring everything together. Oh, got a little brush hair. You take those brush hairs off again with the tip of your brush. Okay, now I'm just going to gently, very gently, just go over this whole thing, bringing it all together. And try to take off, if little hairs come off of the brush, try to take them off while you're painting, if they come off while you're painting, because it's just a pain in the butt. If you try to get them off later once it's done, or once it's more dry, and if you miss them, once it's dry, it just does not look good on the canvas. Some people, it thinks that, they think that it adds character. That's fine if you want to do that. That's fine. But for me, I just try to keep them off. while I'm painting. And I think I see a hair right there in the cloud. Just do your best to try to get it off. Just a little bit of thick paint, some more brush. I just kind of totally destroyed that cloud, but it's okay, we'll make it work. All right, buff it back up a little bit, and then go over it. This paint isn't very thick, this white paint. I usually like to use the Winsor & Newton brand paint of oil paint. This white is Master's Touch because I ran out of the Winsor & Newton white. So yeah, there's certain there's certain Master's Touch paints that work okay. Some of them just don't work very well. They're just not dry enough. So, and again, I'm just gently going over these and then brushing them out very gently. Don't apply a lot of pressure when doing this. With this paint, I'm actually having to add more brush strokes because it's not as dry. So, okay. So, all right, I think we're pretty much got a basic sky there with some clouds. And as you can see, we just turn those dark spots into like the shadows of the clouds. And yeah, all right. Just go until you're happy with it, you know. Again, this is just, if you have a drier paint, this will probably work out better. All right. Okay, guys. Well, I hope this is I hope this video helps you, and I'm gonna move on to the next step here, which will be adding some water to the bottom of this, and then I'll move on to the next step, which would be painting mountains. So if this helped you out, if you like it, I'm going to be posting more videos, tutorial videos, time-lapse videos, and maybe just some other art-related stuff. If you want to see more, subscribe to the video. You'll get notifications when I post. And yeah, I hope this helps you out. So happy painting, guys, and we'll see you in the next video. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, I do have art pages there. Zach Rodriguez Art, and Zach is spelled Z-A-Q-U-E, just like it is here on YouTube. So subscribe to the channel, and if you want to see more, if you like this, if this helped you out, and yeah, I hope to see you guys. And shout out to all the to my fellow members in the Bob Ross Oil Painting for Beginners group on Facebook. All right, there it is, guys. Sorry, just see some little hairs here and there and excess paint. So just brushing it out, just showing you how to do it. And I'm just going over it very lightly again, very lightly. So, all right, guys. Rats, little hairs. All right. See you guys in the next one.